Done. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you straight. No sugarcoating, no dancing around the point. Just truth. Because truth, real truth, makes us better. Now, success doesn't just come from talent. It comes from character, from discipline, from how you carry yourself when nobody's clapping. And today, I want to talk to you about something people often overlook in habits, not the good ones. The ones that slowly kill your credibility. The ones that whisper to the world, I'm not ready. So here we go. 7 habits that make you look unprofessional, whether you realize it or not. 1, being late. Time is respect. When you're late, you're saying your time matters more than anyone else's. People may smile and forgive, but they remember. And if you want to lead, you better learn to show up on time every time. 2, talking more than you listen. Some folks walk into a room thinking they already know everything, but the wise ones, they lean in, they observe, they listen. Listening shows maturity. Listening shows control. And most of all, listening shows respect. 3, gossiping. If someone gossips to you, they'll gossip about you. Words are weapons, and small minds swing them recklessly. Don't be that person. If it's not lifting someone up or solving a problem, keep it out your mouth. 4, sloppy appearance. Now, I'm not talking about designer clothes or fancy watches. I'm talking about effort, wrinkled clothes, unkempt hair. That, I just rolled out of bed, energy. It tells the world, I don't care. And if you don't care, why should anyone trust you with responsibility? 5, overpromising and underdelivering. If you say you're going to do something, do it. Done. Don't hide behind excuses. Don't disappear when things get hard. Your word is your bond. Break it too many times, and you won't get another chance to prove it. 6, poor email or message etiquette. We live in a world of screens now, and your message is often your first impression. Typos, no greetings, all caps, ghosting people that ain't professional. That's careless, and careless ain't how you climb. 7, dodging responsibility. When you mess up, own it. When a job's below you, do it anyway and do it well. The way you handle the little things tells the world if you're ready for the big ones. Blame is easy. Ownership is rare. Be rare. Being late is more than just a bad habit. It's a message. A silent, unspoken message that tells others what you really think of their time. Done. Their priorities and their expectations. When you walk into a room 5:10 or 15 minutes late, you might not say a word, but your lateness speaks loud and clear. It says, my time matters more than yours. It says, I didn't plan ahead. It says, I couldn't be bothered to be where I promised I'd be when I said I'd be there. People notice that. They might smile when you show up late. They might say, it's okay. But deep down, they're registering it. They're making a mental note. And that mental note is slowly painting a picture of someone they can't depend on. Someone who might have potential, but lacks discipline. Someone who might have talent, but lacks respect. Now, let's be real. Life happens. Traffic, emergencies, unexpected delays, these things are part of being human. But when lateness becomes a pattern, when it becomes your default mode, then it's no longer an accident, it's a choice. A choice to not prepare. A choice to not take things seriously. A choice to put yourself above everyone else. In a professional setting, time is one of the most valuable currencies there is. Done. Meetings are scheduled to the minute. Deadlines exist for a reason. When you show up late, you're not just affecting your own schedule. You're disrupting a whole system. You're sending a ripple through everyone else's day. And in environments where precision and reliability matter, that kind of ripple can turn into a wave. You can lose deals. You can miss opportunities. You can damage relationships just by being late. And let's go deeper. Lateness isn't always about the clock. Sometimes it's about mindset. It's about how seriously you take your commitments. If you treat a 900 meeting like a suggestion instead of a promise, it says something about how you approach responsibility in general. And if you treat time casually, chances are done. You treat other things casually to your communication, your follow through, your focus. Punctuality, on the other hand, speaks volumes in your favor. When you arrive early, you're sending a message too. A message that says, I care. A message that says, I respect your time. A message that says, you can count on me. It's a simple thing, showing up on time. But simple things done consistently, that's where professionalism is born. That's where trust is built. Being on time is also a matter of self-discipline. It requires planning, preparation, and prioritization. It means you think ahead. You give yourself margin. You understand that unexpected things can happen, and you adjust your schedule to allow for them. It's not always easy, but it's always noticed. And over time, it creates a reputation for reliability. People start to see you as someone who shows up, someone who's locked in, someone who takes the small things seriously. And when you take the small things seriously, people are more willing to hand you the big ones. It also impacts how you're perceived by those in leadership positions. Managers, directors, clients, they're all watching. Not just what you do, but how you do it. If they see you stroll in late to meetings, miss deadlines, or constantly need to reschedule, they may not say anything right away, but they remember, they take note. And when the time comes to offer a promotion, hand out a key assignment, or make an important decision, they're thinking about who they can trust. Who shows up when they say they will? Who treats every commitment with intention? Even among peers, punctuality matters. It creates harmony. It builds mutual respect. If your team knows they can rely on you to be on time, they're more likely to collaborate with you, communicate openly, and support your work. But if you're always running late, or apologizing, always making excuses, it puts a strain on those relationships. And in any professional environment, relationships are everything. Talking more than you listen is one of the quickest ways to show people you're not really there to grow. It's a habit that's easy to fall into, especially when you're eager to prove yourself or want to be heard. But in professional environments, being heard is not the same as being respected. Respect is earned through presence, awareness, and understanding, and all of those things start with listening. When you dominate a conversation with your own voice, you miss out on valuable information. You miss the nuance in people's tone, the concerns hidden between their words, the unspoken questions they might be too hesitant to ask. You miss opportunities to learn. And that's the tragedy of it, because no matter how much you think you know, there's always more to understand. People who listen well are people who stay sharp. They adapt. They read the room. They know when to speak, and more importantly, when to stay quiet. Over-talking can be driven by insecurity. Sometimes it comes from a need to control the situation, to steer the room in your direction. But in doing that, you often steamroll over others. You make people feel small, unheard, invisible. And when people feel that way around you, they pull back. They stop engaging. They start to think twice about sharing ideas or giving feedback. Over time, they lose trust, not necessarily because of what you said, but because of what you never let them say. There's power in silence. There's strength in letting others speak. A true professional knows that listening is a skill, not a passive act. It's an active choice to focus, to lean in, to put your ego on pause and give someone else your full attention. When you listen well, you show that you value others. You show that their insight matters to you. that you don't just want to talk to, want to understand. In team settings, the impact of not listening multiplies. Every person brings a unique perspective to the table. If you're the one always talking, always interrupting, done. Always bringing the conversation back to yourself, you shut that diversity of thought down. And when people feel like they won't be heard, they stop contributing. You lose creative energy, you lose innovation, you lose the trust that binds strong teams together. Good listeners build stronger connections. They make eye contact. They nod, done. They ask thoughtful follow-up questions that prove they were really paying attention. That kind of presence builds credibility. It builds relationships that last. Because when people feel heard, they open up. They collaborate. They give you their. Be best not because they have to, but because they want to. Listening also helps you avoid unnecessary mistakes. Done. How many times have problems blown up just because someone didn't take the time to listen carefully? They assumed. They jumped to conclusions. They filled in the blanks with their own bias instead of getting clarity. All of that can be avoided by slowing down and listening the first time. And when conflict arises, and it always does, how you listen matters even more. In moments of tension, people often default to defensiveness. They try to win the argument. They wait for their turn to speak instead of trying to understand. But true professionalism shows up in those moments when you choose not to escalate, when you choose to listen, really listen, even when you don't agree. Done. That kind of self-control speaks louder than any clever rebuttal ever could. Being a good listener isn't about being silent the whole time. It's about balance. It's about knowing when to contribute and when to step back. It's about letting others finish before you jump in. It's about being aware that the conversation doesn't revolve around you. Professionals who master that balance earn more trust, more influence, and more respect in the long run. When you enter a room and immediately take over the conversation, people start to tune out. But when you walk in, ask thoughtful questions, and give others space to be heard, people tune in. They start to see you not just as someone with something to say, done, but someone worth listening to as well. Gossip is one of the most damaging habits a professional can have. It might seem harmless at first. A quiet comment in the hallway, a side conversation during lunch, a little, did you hear about? Whispered across a meeting room. But make no mistake, gossip erodes trust. It chips away at the foundation of any professional environment. It creates tension where there should be collaboration, suspicion where there should be loyalty, and distraction where there should be focus. When you talk about someone behind their back, you're telling others more about yourself than the person you're talking about. You're showing that you're willing to violate trust. You're showing that confidentiality means little to you. You're showing that when it comes down to it, you care more about drama than integrity. And once that reputation starts to build, it follows you. People become cautious around you. They start to measure their words. They start to avoid open conversations. They worry that whatever they say might be twisted, shared, or weaponized later on. In the workplace, every person relies on a web of trust. Trust between team members, between managers and employees, between departments. Gossip doesn't break one link in that chain, it weakens the whole thing. One careless comment can spark division. It can create alliances and rivalries that should never exist in a professional space. It can cause people to question motives, second-guess decisions, and distance themselves from others, all because of something that might not even be true. Even when gossip is based on facts, the way it's shared often distorts the truth. Tone gets lost. Intent gets twisted. The story changes as it travels, done. And by the time it makes its way back to the person being talked about, It's no longer information. It's poison. Done. That person now has to walk into rooms unsure of who's talking about them, unsure of who to trust. And that kind of uncertainty drains morale, kills productivity, and damages culture. Some people disguise gossip as concern. They say things like, "I'm just worried about them," or "I thought you should know." But the real test is this: would you say the same thing if that person were in the room? Would you deliver the same message in the same tone directly to their face? If not, then it's not concern. It's cowardice. It's using the cover of caring to spread negativity. And gossip rarely stays contained. Once you speak it, it takes on a life of its own. You can't control where it goes or how it's interpreted. You can't undo the damage once it's done, and if you're the source, you will eventually be exposed. People might not confront you directly, but they remember. They watch. You think I've done. They start to place you in a category of people who can't be trusted with sensitive information, who thrive on stirring the pot rather than solving real problems. Gossip also distracts from real work. It pulls attention away from goals, deadlines, and collaboration. Instead of focusing on what matters, people start focusing on what's being said, who said it, and why. It creates mental noise. It slows down progress. It fosters a toxic environment where energy is wasted on rumors instead of results. Leaders can sense this shift. So can clients, customers, and anyone who steps into the space. A workplace infected with gossip always feels heavier, more tense, less aligned. The habit of gossiping also limits personal growth. When you focus on talking about others, you stop working on yourself. It's easier to critique someone else's actions than to reflect on your own. But growth doesn't come from tearing others down. It comes from accountability, humility, and the willingness to stay focused on your path, not someone else's. Gossip is a distraction from that path. It keeps you stuck in cycles of comparison, resentment, and people who rise in their careers are often the ones others feel safe around. Safe to speak, safe to share ideas, safe to be vulnerable. Gossip destroys that safety. It teaches others that when they're not in the room, they might be the next target. That's not leadership. That's not professionalism. That's fear-based culture disguised as camaraderie. And gossip doesn't only hurt the people being talked about. It hurts the person spreading it. It limits opportunities. It closes doors. It creates invisible barriers between you and the people who might have supported you, recommended you, or collaborated with you if they didn't worry about what you might say once they left the room. The way you present yourself speaks before you do. In professional settings, your appearance is not just about style or fashion. It's about effort. It's about showing the people around you you care enough to take yourself seriously. When you walk into a room looking disheveled, unkempt, or careless with your appearance, it sends a message that you're either unprepared, distracted, or indifferent. Even if you're the most talented person in the room, sloppy appearance can undercut that talent by making people question your attention to detail and your level of respect for the space you're in. No one's saying you need to wear expensive clothes or be dressed to the nines every day. Professionalism in appearance doesn't mean flashy. It means intentional. It means clean clothes, well-groomed hair, appropriate attire for your environment, and an overall presentation that reflects awareness. Whether you work in a suit and tie office or a creative, a casual workspace looking put together tells others you showed up with purpose. It shows that you didn't roll out of bed and throw something on. You thought about the impression you're giving and chose to make it a good one. People notice effort. And when they see you consistently putting in the effort to maintain a presentable, confident appearance. They associate that with reliability and self-respect. They assume you take the same level of care in your work, your communication, and your commitments. But when your clothes are wrinkled, your shoes are dirty, or your general appearance suggests neglect, it raises questions. Questions about your professionalism, your discipline, and even your credibility. In many industries, your appearance is an extension of your personal brand. If you're in a client-facing role, your appearance becomes part of the company's image. It's not just about how you feel. It's about how you represent the team, the mission, and work. Clients and colleagues are making quick judgments, whether you like it or not. And if you look like you don't care, they might decide not to trust you with something that requires precision, care, or responsibility. Even in virtual spaces, appearance still matters. The way you show up on a video call, the lighting, the background, your posture, and how you dress, all of that communicates something. Just because you're working from home doesn't mean professionalism disappears. In fact, showing that you still maintain a level of polish and structure even outside the office can set you apart from others who let those standards slide. Your appearance also affects how you feel. When you take the time to get dressed, groom yourself, and walk out the door with intention, you carry yourself differently. Your shoulders are back. Your energy is more focused. You're more prepared to interact, to contribute, to lead. It's not about vanity. It's about preparation. It's about putting yourself in the right mindset to perform and engage with others at a high level. Consistency is important. Looking professional once in a while doesn't build a reputation. Doing it consistently does. People will notice patterns. If you show up to a big meeting sharp and polished, but every other day you're sloppy or unprepared, it tells them you only put in effort when it benefits you directly. But if you show up every day with the same level of professionalism, even on the slow days, even when no one's watching closely, that builds real trust. That's the kind of behavior people promote, recommend, and rely on. There's also a cultural aspect to appearance that's important to acknowledge. Different industries, regions, and communities may have different standards for what's considered professional. The key isn't to copy someone else's style, it's to understand what's appropriate and respected in your environment and align with it in a way that's authentic to you. It's about understanding the expectations of your space and choosing to rise to meet them, not fall below them. First impressions are powerful, but so are second, third, and 10th impressions. Over time, people form a picture of who you are based on what they observe repeatedly. If they repeatedly see someone who looks like they've just come from the gym or because woke up late, they start to associate carelessness. But if they consistently see someone who looks prepared, composed, and ready to work, that image becomes synonymous with dependability. When you make a promise and don't follow through, it doesn't just affect the task at hand, it affects your reputation. In professional environments, your word is currency. It's what people trade on when they decide to trust you with responsibility, collaboration, or leadership. Saying you'll do something and then not doing it is one of the quickest to lose to that trust. And once it's gone, it takes a long time to rebuild. People start to see your commitments as empty. They stop depending on you. They stop including you. And that loss of trust can quietly close doors you didn't even realize were opening. Keeping your word isn't just about major deliverables or public deadlines. It's also about the small things. If you say you'll send an email, follow up with a document, show up to a meeting, or make a call, do it. These everyday moments are where your professional character is truly tested. Anyone can deliver when all eyes are on them. But it's the people who stay consistent in the small details that others learn to rely on. Those are the people who earn promotions, lead teams, and gain influence not because they're flashy, but because they're steady. When you don't follow through, people may not confront you immediately. They may not call you out, but they remember. They make mental notes. Done. And over time, those become a pattern. That pattern shapes how they view as someone who means what they say, or someone who just says what sounds good in the moment. A person who keeps their word even under pressure, even when it's inconvenient, done, builds a reputation of integrity. And that reputation follows you in every room you enter. Excuses wear them quickly. While most professionals are juggling full schedules and heavy workloads, being busy isn't an excuse to break promises. It's a reason to be even more careful about the ones you make. If you can't commit to something, say so up front. People respect honesty. What they don't respect is overpromising and underdelivering. It's far better to say, I can't take this on right now, than to say, I've got it, and then fail to deliver. The second option might feel good in the moment, but it does long-term damage. It's better to set clear, realistic expectations than to create a false sense of dependability. Following through also demonstrates respect, not just for your own time, but for everyone else's. When you meet a deadline, you keep the workflow moving. Done. When you complete a task as promised, you allow others to do their part. But when you drop the ball, you don't just hurt yourself. You delay others. You create confusion. You force people to shift their plans to accommodate your lapse. And in a professional setting, that ripple effect can lead to missed opportunities, damaged relationships, and strained team dynamics. There's a deep level professionalism in someone who honors commitments without needing to be reminded. They don't need constant check-ins. They don't need someone to chase them down. They remember what they said they'd do, and they make sure it gets done. That kind of reliability is rare, and it stands out. It builds quiet authority. People begin to associate you with competence and leadership. Done. Not because you talk the loudest or seek attention, but because you deliver every time. Accountability is the backbone of keeping your word. When you fall short, and everyone will at some point, the way you handle it matters. Owning up, apologizing sincerely, and correcting the course speaks volumes. Blaming others, making excuses, or going silent only deepens the damage. People understand that mistakes happen. What they want to see is responsibility. They want to know that when things go wrong, you're the kind of person who steps up, not backs out. Professional growth is built on trust, and trust is built on actions, not words. The more you follow through, the more people will trust you. The more they trust you, the more opportunities they'll bring your way. You don't need to be the most talented person in the room to earn that trust. You need to be the most consistent. Consistency beats potential when potential can't be counted on. Talent might get attention, but reliability keeps it. The workplace is full of people who talk a good game. What separates real professionals from the rest is the ability to back it up with action. When you say you'll do something, do it not for applause, not for recognition, but because it's the right thing to do. Because in the long run, your word is one of the most powerful tools you have. Let me leave you with this: talent may open the door, but character, that's what keeps you in the room. So check your habits, not just when people are watching, but especially when they're not. Because who you are in the dark, that's who you really are. Thank you.